Hi, it's me again, Christian, and today I have a very interesting tutorial for you guys. How to set up your DigitalOcean server with Node.js, NGINX in 10 easy steps. Let's go. Enjoy. Okay, so let's go through the steps of creating a new server with DigitalOcean. Now, I have to say that DigitalOcean is not sponsoring this video. I have nothing to do with DigitalOcean. The only thing is I already have an account and I've been using their services for quite a while now, and it's cheap, it works, so I don't have any reason to change. Although here in Europe, at least, you have several similar service providers for virtual private servers, Linode and UpCloud, obviously the big ones, AWS, Google, and Microsoft with the Azure services. So you can, if you have already signed up for any of those, you can use them. The setup would be exactly the same, especially if you're using a private server that has Linux as a operational system, as a base, right? So you can choose whatever you want. I am using DigitalOcean just because I already use their services. In fact, if you are new to all of this and you don't have anything in mind, you don't have signed up for any other services, I would strongly recommend to use DigitalOcean. You can use my referral link that is down on this video, in the description of this video. Just click the referral link, create an account for yourself. You're going to receive some money to start with. I am going to receive some money and everyone is going to be happy. Okay, so step one, obviously, 10 easy steps to set up your server. Step one is to create your account at DigitalOcean. Again, not sponsored. You can choose whatever services that you want. You can Google for the services, the virtual private server in the region that you are, and you're going to find one that is going to suit your needs. Okay. Step two is to add a new server to your account. Once you create an account in one of those service providers, what they're going to give you is just your account, and you will have a sort of a control panel where you can manage your services. So there, I'm going to be showing you on my account on DigitalOcean, and there you'll be able to create a new server for yourself. You're going to be assigning your domain to the new server. This step is very straightforward. I'm going to show you how to do that. You have to configure your subdomains on your account, and this is where we are going to start preparing the server to accept more than one application running in parallel, and we are going to be using NGINX as a proxy server to route our requests to the correct application. For now, you just bear in mind that we have to configure some subdomains on your account. Obviously, this is 2021. You don't want your websites or web systems or whatever you want running on the internet without TSL encryption. So we are going to install a very simple certificate for our application using certbot. We are going to install NGINX. This is what is going to act as a proxy on our server. We are going to configure a firewall with UFW. Now, UFW is, it comes already natively installed on Ubuntu servers. I'm not sure if Debian servers or any other flavors of Linux has this installed by default. If not, you just apt install UFW and you should be good to go. But in this case, we are going to be using a Ubuntu server, so it should be installed by default. We are going to install NodeJS and Forever. Now, if you don't know much about Node packages, Forever is a package that allows us to run a script, a JavaScript script, right? Our server JS, for example, as a service on Linux. So obviously we are going to start the application by running node server.js and just to see if everything is working correctly. But afterwards, what we want to do is to run it as a service, because eventually we will want to get out of the server. And if we do that just running Node.js, what will happen is once our connection to the server drops, also our application is going to drop. And obviously this is not what we want. We want our scripts to be running as a service forever. And that's the reason that we're going to be using that package. Obviously, you have to transfer your applications and or websites into the server that you want to use. And final step is to configure NGINX with those applications. And after that, you should be done. So let's go ahead and see how to do all that. Right, first step is to go to the DigitalOcean website and choose your price, right? With one droplet, they call the virtual machines droplets at DigitalOcean. This is quite cheap. You start at $5, and yeah, you can just choose one of those, because if you're running applications that are very, very small, or just a blog, a website, or this is just a development machine, the $5 one is more than enough for you, because it has some of the general purpose. Let me check: basic, regular with SSD. So you start with $5, 1 GB of memory, 1 virtual CPU, 25 GB of SSD disk, and a terabyte of transfer. This is more than enough for a small website or a small blog. If you're not expecting too much interaction with your website, this is more than enough. As you see here, you have the premium Intel SSD, etc. It's basically the same, right? The only difference is the SSD drive, and you pay, instead of $5, you pay $6, which is yeah, it's not that different, right? If you're a fan, you can choose between Intel and AMD. It doesn't make any difference really what you choose, although I would say if you have to scale correctly the size of your application to the size of what virtual machine you're going to select. I would say that everyone should be good enough if you have, I don't know, a big application and it uses maybe connections with a MySQL Server database. 2 of those $10 machines should be good enough. One dedicated for the database and one dedicated for your website. So you can put them on a private network, one communicate with the other, and you have your data separated from your website. You can actually, instead of doing that, get 2 of 5 and 1 of 10 for the database, and do a load balancing, because DigitalOcean has load balancers, you can see here, right? So You can do whatever setup you want. I'm going to show you the most basic setup so you can run 2 or more applications in parallel using the same server. Obviously, that you need a domain name for doing that, because as you guys are going to see, we are going to be creating the domains inside our DigitalOcean account, and also our subdomains. Everything has to be inside here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to log in. If you don't have an account, you just sign up. Follow the process. You can sign up with your email, with Google or GitHub. I already have an account, but this is quite simple. Just follow the instructions and you will be good. In my case, I'm going to sign in. And there you go. As you guys can see here, I do have a few droplets ready already. One is for my personal website, one is for my company websites, and I have a few domains here. This is quite easy. This is actually the control panel for DigitalOcean. What you want to do once you get in, you will want to create a new droplet. This is exactly what I'm going to do because I really need a new droplet for this next project. So why not, right? I have a new domain, and the domain is called MediaLib, which is a blog that I'm trying to write. Actually, I'm going to be, probably the blog code is going to be open source. The blog itself will be not, obviously, but I do have a domain already for that project. And in the following days or the following weeks, I'm going to probably be going on Twitch and doing the web development of that project on Twitch. If you want to follow, I'm going to leave the Twitch channel link in the description of this video as well. But for now, let's just create a droplet and start with the process. So what I like to do, as you guys can see here, let me go back just for a second. As you guys can see here, I have a domain called easysystems.cloud, and I have a droplet called easysystems.cloud. That's on purpose. You can call your droplet whatever you want, as you guys are going to see now. We're going to create a new droplet, right? But I tend to put the same name as the domain because it's easier to find, it's easier to manage everything, and well, you guys can see the good that this does, right? So for me, a regular Intel $5 machine, it would be good enough. You can choose whatever the Linux distribution you prefer. I like to work with Ubuntu latest. The latest is actually 21, but this is the long time support version, so I'm going to use this one. It's safer. Basic $5 machine, and I'm not going to add volume. I'm going to choose London because I'm in Europe right now, and this obviously makes a huge difference in terms of response time. The closer you are to the server, it would be better for you in terms of response time. So VPC network is exactly what I was mentioning. If you have more than one machine, you can connect them through a virtual private network, and they are going to communicate with each other. They are going to have a different IP number for communicating with each other, and they are going to have the public IP address for you to access the machine. I'm not going to use SSH in this case. I'm going to be using a root password. I'm going to choose a very silly password. Let me open this, by the way, because this is just for YouTube. this is for the YouTube video, so I'm going to open the password. Obviously, I'm going to change that later before the video is published. But for now, it's going to be YouTube 2021 and password. Very, very silly, but it does match the requirements. So this is our password. I'm just going to copy this and put it on a text file, so you can, copy and paste every time you want. Okay, why am I doing that? You can use SSH keys, but for that, you have to run SSH keygen, create a key for you, add the key to your account. So this is a longer process. It's easier for the if you just want to deploy a server and begin and test if everything is working, it's easy this way. So this is the way that I'm going to do right now. Again, I already have a domain with that name, so I'm going to choose my droplet name, my server name, the same as the domain, because then I know which one to select. You're going to see later, since I have more than one server already running, it would be very, very hard to know which one I have to use if they had names like this, right? It's very, very hard to decide which one I want to use. This way is much easier. No tags. I don't want to select a project, although MediaLib seems to be the project that I want. And I'm not going to enable backups, so this is just a test droplet. I'm going to create it, and yeah, this is the process that you have to go through. Okay, so this is done, and here you have your IP address for the server, right? So just copy that, paste it somewhere, leave it there. This is your root password, and this is the IP address for your server. If you want to test if this is already up and running, and indeed we are going to test that right now, you can do SSH root at, and you paste the IP address. Oh yes, perfect. So the password is this one. I'm going to copy and paste it, and there you go. You're inside your virtual private server. Now, it's quite easy to manage a server using the console. And this is exactly what we are going to be doing, because there is not much to do. Like I said, it's 10 easy steps, right? So managing this is very, very easy. But before we start, as you can see here, there is one update that can be applied. But in fact, if you run apt update, it is going to update the repositories for you, and is going to fetch everything that you can update, or in this case upgrade, on this particular machine. And as you can see, instead of one, you have 44 packages that can be upgraded. So let's do that by apt upgrade -y. And while it does that, let's review the steps that we need to follow. Let me open in my other monitor, and there you go. So step one was to create your account at DigitalOcean. I hope you did that. Add a new server to your account. We just did that. We have a new server on our account. And now we are going to assign our domain to the new server. Okay, so how do we do that? While this is upgrading, we can leave it doing its thing. We can go to networking, and you can see that you have domains here. So you go to domains, you're going to create a new domain. In this case is medialib.live, and you're going to assign it to your project, obviously, and add a domain here. Okay, so medialib.live, you have to point it somewhere. And this is why I told you to do like this, because now you know exactly which server you are going to use. If you don't have taken note of what the IP address is, at least you have this. So this is the easiest way for you to find which server to use for your domain. So there you go. lib.live. Actually, this is just @ and it gives you medialib.live already by default. 3600 seconds, it's 1 hour. So it is going to take more or less 1 hour to assign the name to this IP address. Actually, we can go right now. I'm going to create the record anyway. It's not going to make a difference. Okay, and in here we can ping the IP address of the server, which is 139.59.168.228, and the server is responding, and the time is very good. Okay, but if we try to do that using the name, it is possible, by the way. You're going to see that this is responding to 127.0.0.1, which is not exactly what we want. Let's try. Maybe this is actually correct. Let's try to exit the server and do ping the medialib again, because yeah, it is already working. Fantastic. And you can see the time, the response time is 40, 43, 45 milliseconds, which is very good. So perfect, we already have our domain pointing to the correct server. This is absolutely marvelous. So now what we can do is to start creating a few CNAMEs. A CNAME record is an alias to your actual domain, okay? So we are already on step 4. We went to step 3, where we assigned our domain to our new server. And now we are going to create our subdomain. So you come here to CNAME. First of all, you enter www. You can see here what it does, and you can just put @ This @ sign means that this is going to point to the same host. So this is an alias to this name. So just well, let's put 1 hour. Create the record, and there you go. And now I really want to create a different one, which would be admin. So I do want admin.medialib.live. And this is going to point to the same server. Okay, create, and there you go. So you have 3 names, 3 different names pointing to the same place. How can I know which application to go if they're all pointing to the same place? Obviously, we are going to be using this. And the application that is going to check the name that we are using and point, or in this case, is going to proxy or route our request to the correct application is NGINX. So we're going to, this part is done. We are done with step 4, which is to configure the subdomains. And now we are going to the next step, which is to start setting up our actual server. And let's access our server. Now we can just do SSH root at medialib.live, and the result should be the same. What is the problem there? Okay, I do already have, yeah, okay. I do already have a key for the domain. So I'm going to just remove known hosts, and that's it. I'm going to create again. All right, so let's try to SSH root at medialib.live, because now the name should be working, right? And indeed it is. So yes, perfect. Let's paste that silly password, and let's continue with our work. Perfect. Now everything is up to date. We don't have anything. System restart required. This is important because before we do that, since we do have to install a few applications in here, I'm going to take that opportunity to, before restarting the server, I'm going to install and configure everything, and then we can restart the server, right? So I don't think we are going to need this anymore in this as well. But in any case, I'm going to just minimize instead of closing. All right, so let's go through the steps again. I want to add TSL encryption to my server with certbot. That means that I have to install certbot. Okay, so this is quite easy to find. You just Google for certbot, right? You go to their website and you go to certbot instructions on how to install certbot, right? And you're going to, it's going to make a few questions. You're going to say that my site is running NGINX on Ubuntu 20. This is important because the instructions that you're going to get are different for each flavor of Linux, and also for what is it that you're running, because NGINX has actually a specific line of code. So you're going to install certbot. Okay, these are the steps. So you have to install the core and refresh the core, because this is ensure that you have the latest version, okay, of Snap. And then you're going to install certbot using Snap. You don't need to prepare anything, and then you're going to run this certbot --NGINX. This is what is going to configure your certificate on your machine using NGINX. This is the most important part, okay? So obviously before that, what we have to do is to install everything that we need. So first of all, we're going to install this. Just copy and paste inside your server, right? Copy and paste the command line. Notice that I'm skipping the sudo part, because since I am root on the server, I don't need the sudo part, right? Again, snap install certbot. Just copy and paste. Now this is going to install certbot for me. And I do want to apt install NGINX as well. Okay. I need all the applications installed before I start the process. So install NGINX is actually step 6. It's before the add TSL encryption to the server, which is actually wrong. I have to review the slides later, but for now, just bear in mind, you have to install certbot, you have to install NGINX, and with all that installed, you should be good to go and go to step where you actually install the certificate. And yes, let's go and do that. Just copy, paste, and there's a kind of a wizard that you have to follow. Let's follow the wizard. Okay, so email address. I'm going to be using the same email address that I have for my account. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's my Gmail address. Where is it? Read the terms of service. Yeah, I read it and I agree with them. Do you want to share your email? No. Okay, now is the important part. Since your account is now registered, what you have to do is to enter your domains, comma or space separated. So this is very important. You have to put everything that you just configured in here. Okay, so let's go back to the domains. And actually, I should have a domain here in NodeJS. There you go. So you see that you have 3 names. You have to register all 3. So medialib.live, which is your main name, your domain name, and the aliases, all of them. So let's go and do that. So first of all, medialib.live space www.medialib.live and finally admin.medialib.live. Enter. And this is going to request a certificate for those 3 names and automatically install them on your system. It was successful, and that's exactly all we have to do. So now that we have the domains certificate for our domains, we really are nearly done, because all we have to do now is to install Node and transfer our applications. After that, we are going to configure NGINX to act as a proxy for our applications, and we are going to see what is going to happen. So now, really, we don't need this opened anymore. Obviously, we don't need certbot opened. Perfect. So now should be the time that we are going to reboot the server, but before that, what I'm going to do is just snap install classic node. This is going to install NodeJS for us, the latest stable version. So if we do node -v, we can see that is version 16.13.1, and npm -v should be 8.1.2. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, okay, now we can reboot. And bear in mind, we are rebooting our virtual machine, so it just disconnects us. And The machine should be online in a few seconds because it is very, very, very quick. So let's try. Not yet. There you go. It's up already. Let's copy the password, paste it, and that's it. Perfect. So the machine should now be working 100%. Okay, so the best way I've found to do this last 3 or 4 steps that we have to go through. Let me just confirm how many steps we have ahead. Just 3 actually. We already installed Node. We have to configure the firewall. Okay, so let's talk about the firewall. At this very moment, your entire server is opened to the internet. This is hardly what you want to do. So normally what people do in this case is they only open a few ports. To do that, you use UFW. UFW is the firewall that comes natively with Ubuntu and actually Linux in general. But like I said in the beginning, I'm not sure if it comes already installed with Debian. I know that it does with Ubuntu. So if you go UFW status and the status is inactive, that's correct. That's what you want actually. Because if you have your firewall started, running, enabled before you do everything that you need to do, maybe you are going to run into some problems. So you want to do all those steps that we went through before you enable your firewall. Now that I have everything enabled and installed and configured, I can and I will allow SSH on top of all, because if I enable my firewall before I allow connections through SSH, my connection is going to drop and I will never be able to connect to the server again. So first of all, UFW, allow SSH, and obviously allow HTTPS. If you don't plan to run anything else on your server, these are the 2 ports that you really need to open. And now you can do UFW enable. You're going to see this warning that it may disrupt SSH connections, but since we allowed SSH connections, you can proceed with the operation, and there you go, everything still works. And now if you go UFW status, you see that is active, and these are the connections that are allowed. So if anyone tries to go in your machine using any port different from 22 or 443, they're not going to be able to connect. This is what we want, because since we do have a certificate, a TSL certificate for this machine, there's no need to open HTTP ports, in this case port 80. So there you go. This is step 7 done. Step 8 would be install NodeJS and forever. We already installed NodeJS, and we need to install NodeJS first because I want to use npm to install forever. Forever is a npm package that you can install globally, and that's exactly what I'm going to do using this command, npm I -g forever. Since I'm root on the system, I don't need to put a sudo first. If you're running that on another account, you might need to put sudo npm I -g forever. But what this does is this is installing forever globally on your system, so you can access that script wherever you are. Now, step 8 is complete. Step 9 is to transfer your apps to the server. I like to use FileZilla for this because it's easier to use, right? You just open it, you have this nice interface. You put your host, you put your username and password, which we are again going to copy and paste. Import 22, obviously, because this is SSH. You accept the new connection, and there you go. You are on the server. Now, if you go, since we installed NGINX, if you go HTTPS and medialib.live, what you're going to get is the welcome to NGINX page, because we have it installed, right? And as you guys can see here, it's working perfectly with the certificate including, right? If you go www, since we have a certificate for www, you're going to see the same page. And also for admin, all those three names are working perfectly. This is obviously not what we want to see. We want to see our applications running on those under those names, right? But for now, what is happening is this. Let's go to etc. NGINX. Let me find NGINX in here. Okay, and on sites available, you have this default file. Let's just open it to see what's inside. And you guys are going to see that what we have is a server. It's listening on port 80 or 443. In this case, it has both. But what NGINX is doing is saying that, okay, the root of your server is var www.html, which is the same place. If you guys are accustomed to use Apache servers instead of NGINX, it's the same place where everyone puts their pages. And if you go a little bit further on the file, you see that we do indeed have this configured, right? This is managed by certbot, and the location is the same. So what this is doing is saying, okay, if you go to any of these addresses, you're going to return a 301, which is redirect, and you're going to redirect to the root of the system. And therefore, what's happening here is all three addresses are pointing to the same page, to the same place. So the file that you guys are seeing is this one, index nginx debian HTML. If I open this file, you're going to see that is exactly this one right here, which actually is not what we want. What we want is to point our domain names to particular applications on different ports even. But we don't need to put the port here because NGINX is going to act as a proxy server and redirect automatically our requests to the correct place. So let's do that. First of all, we have to transfer, this is step 9, we have to transfer the applications to the server. And the reason I went through all this to explain where the application is located right now is just to say that I don't really put it on the same place. I do like to use the home folder for that, where I can just create a new directory with the name of the domain that I want to use. So in this case, medialib. And inside this folder, I create the applications that I want. So I have my main website, and I also have, in this case, my admin website, correct? So these are the two applications that I will be running on this server in parallel on different ports, obviously. So off camera, I just went ahead and created a small Express server using Node. Okay. One of the servers is running on port 8080 and using the Express static on this folder public, where I do have a simple index.html page. Okay. And this page is just it's going to act as my main website. I do also have an admin dashboard page, and the server for this one, it does the same thing, okay, but is running on port 8081. So it should be very simple for us to see if the whole setup is working. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my projects folder. This is on Pox, Media Lib, main. I'm going to copy everything to my main website. Okay, and I'm going to do the same for my admin website. I'm obviously not copying the Node modules because we can install them locally, which is preferred in this case. Okay, step 9, transfer your apps and/or websites, done. Now I can close this. We're not going to be using that anymore. Now, obviously, we are not going to see any difference here because NGINX is not configured. This is step 10, configure NGINX with the apps. So let's go to home and Media Lib. We have the two folders there. Let's start with admin. And there you go. You have your application there. What I'm going to do is npm-i to install all the dependencies for this application. I'm going to do the same for the main. Okay. And now that everything is working, what I can do is I'm just going to npm start main to see if it is listening on port 8080, and it is. So this is perfect. The admin website should be doing the same. So npm start listening on 8081. So both applications are working. What I can do now is to put these applications to run as services. We are going to in order to do that, we're going to use forever. So it's very simple. It's just forever start server.js. This is going to start forever, as you can see here, as a process on our server. Right? This is the admin page. Let's do the same for the main page. So forever start server.js. If you want to see which one is working, if they are all working, you just type forever list, and you are going to get a list of all the scripts that are running as services using forever, their uptime, etc. You can see all the details here. Okay, so now we have two applications running on different ports. How can I get rid of this page and start seeing my actual applications? Because I want to type this, for example, and go to my main website, for example. Well, I have prepared, obviously we are going to be using FileZilla again. And let me just quick connect to my server. On etc NGINX, you have a folder called sites available, and you have this default script, which is a script. This is the script that we already saw, right? Close without saving, I would say so, yeah. Okay, so this is the script that we have on the server running right now, okay? It does not do what we want. What we want is very simple. It's much simpler than that, actually. I happen to have a script here that I tend to use, which is this one here. I'm going to open with test editor as well. And as you guys can see, I have a web server configured here, in an API server configured here, although you can put whatever you want. And in this case, is exactly what I'm going to do. I am just going to copy everything, right? And I'm going to paste over this one that we have on sites available with all this nonsense. Except for this line right here, because I want to know exactly where the certificate is. But other than that, I just paste in these two lines here. I just have, well, actually, I just need to copy this, right? This is all there is to it. So the template that I have is obviously with example.com. So you just replace that for whatever you have on your actual certificate. And there you go. It's all you need. Actually, you have to change the names of your servers as well. So in this case, you have example.com. What you want is medialib.live and www.medialib.live. These two names are going to point to localhost 8080. This is a proxy to this address. You notice that I'm here using HTTPS, but I'm serving my application on HTTP, and that's not a problem. Okay, so let's save this. And while I do not have an API, what I do have is a admin HTTPS server for the same website. So if I do this and admin, this is the other alias that I'm using, right? But this one is going to 8081. And this is where the magic happens. You can configure, because this is, well, you can put whatever you want here, because this is just a comment, right? You can copy this and paste it as many times as you want, and you can create as many names as you want. Let's say you do have an API, and the API is running on port 82. You see how easy this is. As long as you have this name registered and you have your certificate with that name as well, meaning the process that we went through on step 5 to add the certificate using certbot, as long as you have put that along with all the other names that you want to use, and as long as you come here on DigitalOcean on your control panel and you add that name to your name list, you will be able to do this and use the name that you want. So all you have to do is to copy this and you will be fine. In our case, for this tutorial, we just have these two names and these two applications running. So yes, and they are running. Okay. we can do that again and see, and they are indeed still running. Okay, so we actually don't need to be, no, we do. Okay, let's continue. So here it is. Once I save this, it's going to ask me if I want to update the file on the server. Yes, I do. So from 4.6 kilobytes is going to go down to 720 bytes. This is okay. What we want to do now is to restart NGINX, because NGINX is running with the old configuration in memory. So what you can do is NGINX -s reload. Okay, -s, it's just to send a signal to NGINX, and the signal is reload. So it is going to reload the configuration. It's going to restart the service of NGINX using the new configuration. So now if I do an F5 here, you will see your new website. Perfect. This is exactly what we want. And you can see here that as long as the name is correct, I am going to the correct website. Actually, if I do admin here, you see that this is going to the admin dashboard, which actually is a second application responding to these requests. So we have two applications running on the same server. Yeah, very, very easy to configure. And actually, since we don't need this anymore, you can exit the server, close your terminal, and everything is still working because the service is still running. Forever is taking care of that. So there you go. New server configured with 2 or more applications in 10 easy steps. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel. This helps a lot. Please do like the video and share with your friends. This will help the channel to grow. And if you want to see more tutorials like this one, click the bell and turn on notifications so you know when the next video is coming up. With that said, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being to the end of this video, and I see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.